Recording in progress. Hello.
There we go. All right, good evening. I'd like to call the Design Review Board meeting to order of September 7th, 2021.
I think we have 2 more minutes. Till 5:58, right?
I got 5:59.
No, we need 2 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, so we should wait 2
Just
minutes?
for the formality.
Okay, we'll be 12 minutes just introducing everybody and getting started. As we do our basic duties. Say the pledge. Miss Detail down there.
Dot and I's down there.
Are you going to let me start?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting of September 7th, 2021 to order for the Design Review Board. First, I'd like to have everybody stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to introduce our staff and board.
Shubha Jangam, Senior Planner at City of Milton.
Reed KC, Bethany Road.
Charlie Roberts, Freemanville Road.
Jeff Dufresne, Summit Road.
Lee Collins, Westbrook Road.
Beniquas Palmer, Canterbury on the Lake.
All right, thank you. I'd like to see if I can get a motion to approve our agenda tonight.
I move to approve the agenda tonight.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's approved. Next, I'd like to have any discussion or get a motion to approve the August meeting minutes.
I'll make a
Any-
motion to approve the August meeting minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, let's move on with tonight's meeting. First category is demos. 5A is 13095 Providence Road. And before we start, is there any opposition to this demo? All right, seeing none, the applicant can speak.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese with Brumlow Reese and Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 30004. I'm here tonight representing the Mirandas and Rosales and their application to demolish the one-story concrete block residence constructed in 1950. They are wanting to construct a new residence on this property. I think there's no historical, social, or any significance related to this structure. I think you have a site plan and pictures to depict the situation. If there are any questions, I would be glad to answer them. Otherwise,
We don't have any opposition present tonight. The board, any discussion anyone would like to have? Hearing no discussion, can I get a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the demolition of 13095 Providence Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I am Scott Reese with Brumlow Reese and Associates, doing business at 13685
Scott,
Highway 9, Milton, Georgia.
May I do
Yes.
this first? Item 5B is Thompson Road. There's no address that I have, so that is the item 5B on our agenda.
So, yeah, there is no address for that, but there is a parcel ID, and the address will be given to it once they have all the,
Okay, this is item 5B, PIN number 225200053806606.
yes, that's a parcel ID. Yeah.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese with Brumlow Reese and Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 30004. I'm here tonight representing the Pierces and their application to demolish a 1950s era poultry house or barn on this undeveloped piece of property. They need to remove this structure to construct a large acreage tract subdivision. There'll be 4 lots of 3+ acres, and to proceed, we need to remove this structure. So once again, you have pictures. There's no cultural, historical, any type of significance with this remnant from our past.
Do we have any opposition to this?
No.
Okay. Discussion?
You said 4-lot subdivision?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
4 3+ acre
I
lots.
hear that. I think they were going to do a lot
They
larger.
were trying, and we discussed it in the economics.
Yeah, that's great.
No infrastructure.
Is this the one that we saw that time where they were trying to figure out how to get access on the road because
Yes.
of right of way and, okay, site distance between
distance.
Champions Club and the other, okay. Okay, I just want clarification. I don't have any objection.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the demo at 0 Thompson Road, item 5B.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item is 5C on our agenda, 14260 Cogburn Road. Do we have anybody here in opposition?
No.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese with Brumlow Reese and Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 30004. I'm here tonight representing Paul Dozer and his application to demolish the 1963 circa one-story brick ranch located on the property. The applicant is needing to remove this structure to do a minor subdivision plat on the property. Once again, it's the run-of-the-mill 50s, 60s era hip-roofed brick house that were so prevalent in that past. So once again, you've got pictures, everything. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
The board have any, hearing no opposition, let's have discussion.
Make sure it does include the garage and everything
Yes,
on
the-
that
the
property,
all
so you don't have to come back.
structures will have to be removed because of the new lots and the lot lines and the building setback.
And 5C says existing residence, garage, and driveway. But Reed has a good point. There is looks like a little barn or shed.
We're calling that a garage. It was where their camper was parked.
Okay, so all of the buildings include a residence, a garage, and a barn, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's note, staff, that it doesn't say anything about a barn.
No, he's saying that the barn is the garage.
Okay,
Calling the garage the barn.
Semantics.
Or the barn, the garage.
okay, so the two pictures here, one looks like a barn or garage, and then
One
this
is a
other
s-
one is just a side view.
Side view of the structure. Yes.
All right, any more discussion? Can I hear a motion?
I move to approve 14260 Cogburn Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is item 5D, demolition at 15796 Thompson Road. Do we have any opposition tonight?
No, we don't.
All right, Mr. Applicant.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese with Brumlow Reese and Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 30004. I'm here tonight representing Carlos Gomez in his application for an application for demolition of two 1940s era structures. They're barns that are in major disrepair. This property was subdivided via the minor subdivision plat, City of Milton, and approved in 2020 to be able to construct a new residence on this newly created lot. These two structures need to be removed. So I will be glad to entertain any questions if you have.
Okay, hearing no opposition, let's hear from the board.
So this is about half a block
It's
up to the
across, it was
left.
part of the
Yeah.
same Raymond Davis farm, right across the road. Yes.
Just curious, if there's any value, there's wood and stuff like that. Is any gonna,
If someone, I mean, I'm with you, I hate to see these oak boards just be burned or something gone with them. If you will contact me, I will be glad to contact the owner and see if there's a way to get those. It'll be a liability issue.
yeah. Yeah, that's something, ultimately, we need to figure out a way to deal with
I
that.
understand, but
And it's,
once again,
Yeah.
if someone gets hurt,
yeah,
removing those, that's been our problem in the past.
yeah. Well, that's on our to-do list, I guess, to make that repository.
Okay, any other discussion? Could I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the demo at 15796 Thompson Road, barn and shed.
I'll second.
Lee seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Agenda item 5E. 500, is that Simmon?
Yeah.
Simmon Hill Road. Is the applicant here?
Yes, Bruce.
You want to come up?
Come up and state
Do we have any opposition to this?
no.
Okay. Mr. Applicant,
I'm Bruce Adams with Legendary Renovation, representing the Daniels, and we're just removing this small garage to where they can build a new garage there.
okay. Hearing no opposition, let's hear the board's thoughts and discussion.
Do you mind to describe it just a little bit better? This rendering that I have that looks like this, looks like it's one parcel outlined in red. And then there's some scribble drawing on another parcel, 500, which I imagine is where the barn structure
Yes, the
is. Is
barn
that
right
correct?
there. Yes. Yes.
Just the ink is kind of illegible for my weak eyes, so.
So just for clarification, there's nothing to do with the house or the pool. It is just, as he points out, it is the drawing in ink that is going to be torn down.
That is correct.
Staff, you're clear about that?
Yes, I am. It's just that not seen in this image, so he had to draw it literally on.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. Can I get a motion?
A motion to approve the demolition of 500 Simmon Hill Road.
But is this a courtesy review?
Nope.
Yeah, it
No, this
is.
is
No,
a-
it's
this
not
is a
courtesy,
demo.
it's a
We're on
demolition.
500. Okay, thank you. Okay, got it.
Second,
I've already moved
All in
down
favor?
too many.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, now we are into courtesy reviews. The first one is 6A. I would remind the audience that we don't vote on these, we just recommend. So we will have discussion and recommendations. This item is 6A, 15140 Hopewell Road. And it's a variance to allow existing residence structure to be located in the Milton 50-foot stream buffer and the 75-foot impervious setback.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese with Brumlow Reese and Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia 30004. I'm here tonight representing the Rohde family and their application to obtain a variance to allow their existing residence to be brought into conformity. The structure was constructed in 1974, was permitted and constructed in Fulton County before the creation of the city of Milton. At that time, there were no stream buffers enacted. Now with the new ordinance, the structure is considered existing non-conforming. What that does is it locks down the property. So until this house is brought into via variance, a grandfathering or a conformity clause, they cannot remodel, do anything to this structure sell any parcel or part of their property. So they're basically in a lockdown mode with this property. They've moved to a point in life where they need, or they're planning to sell a portion of their property. The owners next door, the husband has died, the wife is in a nursing home. They're under contract, and it's going to kind of lock them down, this particular piece, the roadie piece, if they can't bring their house into conformity to allow them to sell a portion of their property. So it was an existing condition that was allowed at the time. The rules have changed. The house is in the same position. We're not asking to increase any encroachment into the stream buffer. We're just we're asking for a variance to allow the existing encroachment to be brought into conformity, to allow them to do other items that would be meet the zoning and ordinances of the city of Milton on this property. So that's the basis of it. I hope you've got a pretty good idea. You've got pictures of the house. You have a site plan or a survey showing the location of the structure. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Is there anyone here that wants to speak against this?
No.
Okay. Board, what's your thoughts on this? I've never seen you so quiet.
I mean, I think it's bureaucratic, but it needs to be done.
Reed?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of any reasons to,
Is there anything, they get the variance, the house then gets torn down, something else gets put up, and do they automatically have the right then to build in there? Does it change?
If it's torn down, they have no rights then. They have to come into compliance with everything.
So,
This period of time, this did happen. It's a pretty nice house, and this is truly a hardship. So I am for doing this and would recommend that the zoning board approve this variance and let them come into compliance. Then if they sell some of the property, so be it. But the house is there. They're not asking for anything other than just to bring it into compliance.
I agree.
Any other discussion?
There's no other options.
Well, it could happen to anybody that built a house a long time ago. So I think, any thoughts to pass on that we support this and would recommend that they approve it?
Okay.
Right? Everybody in agreement on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
So there is a little confusion about the next applicant. He thought that he can proceed online meeting with online meeting, but we are no longer doing Zoom meetings. So I just called him when the meeting started and he wasn't here. So he's driving here, but it's going to take him a little longer. Can we just move this item to the last?
Let's
And
see.
I mean,
Let's
I
see
don't
if the
know.
board wants to do that. So can we get a motion to move 6B to the end of the meeting?
I'll make a motion to move 6B, new 12745 New Providence Road to, that's correct. Yes, to the end of the meeting, see if the applicant shows up.
And the only thing we have between that now and then is
I
the
know.
old business.
Yeah.
So after
We'll
old
just do
business.
this the last thing of
There we
the
go.
agenda today, if you so vote to do that.
I second.
Okay, do I have a motion to move this to the end of the agenda?
Motion, yep.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. This will be at the end of the meeting. That moves us to, out of courtesy reviews, and moves us over to old business. So now we're doing 9A.
No, we have to go saying the final reviews, none. New business, none. And then old
Okay,
business.
yes, you're right. So final reviews are none. Number 7. 8 is new business, none. And now we're at 9A, and we're into old business.
Right. So you have previously approved these buildings. I don't remember what year, but it's long time. This is just a property over here at the corner where the Starbucks is. The building they're coming up with
Right.
building number 3 and 4, and you guys had previously approved it. There is just minor changes to the design, so we are,
Shouldn't there be an applicant here to present this?
that would be Beecham, but he's not here.
All right, then I think we should postpone this till next month.
No.
Yeah, may I make a recommendation too? Sometimes make an example, the townhouses that are being built right now, right behind this building, I think it's Taylor Morrison's building them. The units that face the street, we approved specific designs for those buildings. And I'm pretty sure, this is like 3 or 4 years ago, so I'm doing this all from memory. But I'm pretty sure we said no siding on those buildings. Well, they're all siding now. So is there a way to kind of like checks and balances some of these agenda, like this? I don't know what we approved before against what we're looking at now.
Right. So,
But we're not going to get into, for me, having staff present for an applicant. Because if we have any questions.
No. I think this needs to be moved. They're not here.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
they're here. He's here.
Okay, we're
Mr.
back on
Beecham is
track.
here. Your item is being.
I really
discussed,
wanted to
so
bring
can
that
you
up
come
in the new
Yes.
business section, but we kind of skipped over it. So
Well, then we can, you can open that when we go back to new business. I
That's
think you have a very valid point. We're seeing lots of change out there.
it's like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
How are they supposed to remember?
Pick up the old records, be good to compare side by
I know.
side.
Could
went
be doing
really
it perfect
fast
too,
today.
but I don't think so.
Yeah,
So I left Bob a message about it. But that's
You were about to be
How's it going?
you're about to be postponed till next month.
Well, I saw this long list. I'm like going, okay, well, it'll be like 8 o'clock at night or something before we show up. So
We're working on not having those happen.
I'm glad.
So, all right, so we're on 9A, which,
Yeah.
Sorry. He told me we'd be last tonight. I apologize.
you are last.
Oh, wow. That was quick.
You were within 1 minute of being next month.
Okay. Well,
So here we are at 9A, and we have a request for some modifications to what's already been approved. And is there any opposition against this?
No.
No opposition? So if you would just walk us through what you want to do, and then the board will make some decisions.
You have the,
Oh, yeah. You can have this one. And you can.
well, we met. Okay. If y'all got a copy. Okay. Yeah, this won't. Sure. Okay. We're looking at buildings 1 and 2 are completed. So on the third page, it shows the site plan. So what we're looking at tonight is buildings 3 and 4. Buildings 3 and 4 were submitted in the very first DRB presentation. Reed, you remember, I mean, we were here quite a while ago. And buildings 1 and 2 at that point had been architecturally designed. Buildings 3, 4, and rest of the project had not gone through architectural design yet. They were architectural renderings. So what we are presenting to you tonight is what we considered, and we've met with Bob and staff, by the way, probably 4 or 5 times, and made significant changes and alterations to the plans that we ended up submitting in an effort to comply with having the plans match as closely as possible to the original renderings. So this page, we'll look at MDC 4. And the now these being architectural designs, Bob and I and Tracy, the architect, worked very closely together to try to make these look as similar to the architectural the original architectural renderings. The things that
Can I
we
ask you a
committed to.
question?
Yes,
In this, do we have the original architectural renderings?
yes, sir. They're
from the original.
yeah. Here's the.
Yeah, I can put it up here, Ron.
Is it,
Can you put it on that thing?
is it in your package you've given us?
Let me look. Bob did
They
this
have
for-
included proposed and the one rendering that that you had approved long time back. There's one rendering that you had approved.
Charlie, this page, the third page has an aerial view of it, but it doesn't show, close up. That's it. So this, and I'll show you, we've got a front view, we'll show you on the screen there. But it's these two buildings it's those two buildings that we're referring to. We've got another rendering we put on are y'all able to see that?
So
on the
I'm
TV?
going to say this again, and I've said it for 6 months. If it in the package we get to study, because all of us put a lot of time in this before the meeting, I don't want to look at things they bring with them to the meeting. And then it's not in the record, Reed, and you're bringing up things correctly that are out there that are not being built as we approved. So I think it needs to be submitted in a package so that we've studied it.
Well, we were told, when I met with Bob, Bob said that this was coming up at his old business and that it was not a review, but it was simply,
Well, you're going to change what we approved, right? Tonight, you're wanting to change what we've approved?
It's not a major change. It's a minor, there's just minor details that they are changing. So that's why Bob said that they can go as an old business instead of a brand new design review.
What are you going to change?
well, the original design, if you can see it on the big screen, do y'all have the ability to see that screen?
Yep.
So you can look at the original design, which did not have any architectural basis to it. It was created as rendering, but I worked with Bob to create this rendering with the idea that we were going to create a building that had multiple facades to try to break down the scale, to bring the scale down to a small city scale. When we went back, I guess probably 8 or 9 months ago, and we started working on actual architectural plans, the original building was broken into 5 spaces. There was no rhyme or reason for that other than we were trying to present something to show as a projected designs. When we started designing the spaces were too small. They weren't leasable spaces and breaking them into 5. So what we did merely was take it from 5 and break it down into 4 spaces, which the square footage better matched what the market was looking for today. So the really only change that we made was breaking the original building had 5 individual facades, and we've broken it down to 4. And that's why Bob felt like it was.
Yeah, I mean, personally speaking, it's a major change, but it's sort of not a major change, in my opinion. I kind of like the bigger building look, because I think I remember when you guys presented, it was sort of brought a lot of like New Orleans style little row houses, and it may look a little odd because that building's to the left is not that way. I don't think. Not that everything needs to look the exact same, but to chop it up in those little buildings.
But we're looking at this rendering, is what you want to do now.
Yes, sir.
And what's up here is what you got approved.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
And what you're looking at in the package is something that we've worked with Bob for 3 or 4 months to try to bring it into.
well, I'm going to speak for me and hopefully for the whole board. I don't want to vote based on you telling me. I've had 10 people tell me they've worked with Bob, and then I've called Bob and he said, I didn't say that. So I don't think in a public hearing, it's good business to come before us and say, well, Bob's approved it, because Bob doesn't have any votes. Now,
Bob was going to be here, or I wouldn't have.
okay.
Yeah, I assumed Bob was going to be here to
And
say
if,
that we.
Rob, here's my deal. If we allow you to have this flexibility and just come in and kind of, hey, this is Bob and I's deal, then why shouldn't everybody else have that same flexibility to come before us and say, I've talked to staff and they're okay with this?
It goes to Reed's earlier comment about checks and balances and
Yeah.
everything else. It
And
has to be a
you're
procedure.
probably leaning toward being for Rob here.
I'm not. I'm only leaning towards the idea that the bigger buildings is a better look.
Okay, and I would say I'm against the bigger buildings because historically, if we go back in history with this kind of architecture, they were very small buildings, and there were the 4 or 5. And I would say that Tracy's work if we can get this picture back up here that we had.
And the building, by the way, is not bigger. It's just the same building
Right.
broken down
It's
into
just bigger
less,
fronts.
less spaces.
But it's going to be much more massive than your rendering. So,
And actually, I mean,
It's the same.
the size, it's exact same footprint, same height.
we're not saying, you're not hearing
The
me.
appearance.
Wait a minute, you're not hearing me. I understand it's the same size. It looks more like this turn of the century architecture would have looked with the smaller facades, because each shop owner built his own building. Our different owners built different buildings on these streets. Going to this massive 3 buildings is not as good architecture as this. And if Bob was here, I know he would agree with me.
But it's four separated, and it's not, and they're not separated. It's an entire open floor plan.
It's the same idea with the new design we presented to you. It's the exact same idea that there's four individual looking spaces. It's
Yeah, they're
the
just,
same concept.
you're just taking the same building and make it into 4 bays instead of 5 bays. And the 5 bays will be more in keeping with this architecture that you turned in. Now, there's 6 votes up here. That's just, Reed's obviously likes the bigger buildings.
Well,
I
there's
wanna
things
be-
I like about both of them. I just like the bigger buildings.
And that's one vote. And I'm on record here. I don't like the bigger buildings.
Well,
And
it
then we
was-
don't have Bob here
Yeah.
to ring in on why he's approving this kind of change.
Well, let's push building 4.
I did speak to Bob. He has looked at it, and this is what he recommended to go to as an old business, because earlier they have been here and gone through the design review process. So he recommended for this little change, they should go only as an old business.
Okay.
That was his recommendation.
Okay,
And we worked awfully hard to get to that point because we did not want to come back and start the DRB approval over from the beginning. So we went through, several phases of design revisions, trying to get the building, an actual building to look like a rendering that didn't have any, the original rendering didn't have any commercial applications, viable commercial applications, just because of the way the space was designed. But I'm okay with tabling 4. Building 3 is the one, and we've got 2 buildings before you. Building 3 did not change. MDC 3 is the second of the 2 that Bob just wanted to run by old business. And
all right, so in our package, here's 4,
the back last few pages are 3.
here's 4.
Do you have,
And
do you have the
then 12.
original?
You have the original, the last.
I'm there.
structure.
Yeah,
Okay, I just
I'm there.
made sure you had it.
And so this is what's in the record that was approved. Okay,
Yeah, that's,
what are the changes you're making,
are-
asking us to approve on
there are
building
none.
3?
we've not made any changes. They
Looks
were
like
just,
maybe brick from Hardy.
Yeah, we went from-
yeah, the
Well,
center's,
we were never gonna have Hardy. It was always gonna be stucco. Just
Yeah.
had that look to it.
if you look on my note,
Yeah, I see it now.
is the architect, the architect rendered it as Hardy, and I put lime-based stucco over it because we didn't want to use Hardy and didn't have time to change it, but to
Tricky.
keep with the coloration, when we met with Bob asked us to keep it brick, and it's just to keep the same color family. So we found a brick that was in that dark gray color scheme.
You don't like
So
this?
there's a plus in my mind. You've gone from Hardy in the middle. You're saying this original was approved with Hardy in the middle?
No, it wasn't. It was approved with stucco in the middle,
Okay, stucco. Now you've gone to brick.
gone back to brick. So it was a masonry,
But brick's better than stucco.
yeah. Well, we'd have done stucco. We wouldn't have done it over plywood. We'd have done it over block anyway. So, but Bob asked us he liked the way the picture looked more than anything. So we found a brown brick to match it.
Even that antebellum brick on the right-hand side, what was your decision to kind of modernize that?
The dovetail brick that's written,
The brick on the right-hand side from the old rendering looks like a really old antebellum point bird vidra something
Well,
brick.
Bottom
Bob
right.
had to
To
steer
the
back
depth,
more towards the colors of the rendering because we'd had the rendering and then I was making some, using red brick and we felt, Bob, we've got 2 red bricks buildings up now. So we can go back to that brick if we need to because that was approved, but Bob's opinion was don't put a third red brick building up. Let's use a tan brick. And
Hard
so-
not seeing all these together, but yeah.
I'll
I can
touch
understand
base
what you
with
mean.
Bob, but I still want to be on record that if you study these before the meeting, I didn't have the renderings of before. You say there's no changes to this building, and yet you're changing all the windows significantly, and you're adding doors on the first floor that aren't there now. So there are significant changes.
Well, we do want doors at the first level, so it's something that we told them to add.
Okay.
It had windows and Bob asked us to put doors. So
Quick-
we're
quick
doing what
question.
the city asked.
You've taken the stairway up an additional flight to access the roof.
That's correct.
Is there a change of use for the roof? Is that going to be a pedestrian or, a party?
There's a small observation deck and we're not, it's not leasable space, but it's always been there.
Yeah,
We
they're
had
not allowed
elevator.
to have 4th floor.
Yeah,
That's
it
that's
had
it.
the elevator stair. It had an elevator and an interior stair that went up always, but you need 2 forms of egress, so we didn't catch it in the rendering. So to keep the rooftop area that's been on the plan from the beginning, we had to add another flight to the exterior stair.
Okay, so no change in use. It's just,
No,
okay,
no,
got it.
none.
But there is a rooftop deck up there.
Yes.
All right, and then the doors aren't on the original, so I'm just going to quote you. A while ago, you said there's no changes other than the brick and the stucco. But there is a change. You're going from no doors on the ground floor to doors on the ground floor.
I'll rephrase what I've worked with Bob. There's been no substantial change and he asked us to add doors. So we added doors.
We want walkability, people to
Yeah.
walk to the first floor, shops, so we want those
We can put
doors
windows
actually.
back. I added them.
It's not about that. It's just we need to make a decision and have the facts to make that decision. And we need to have these documents to do that. And then we need to have them in the record. If Laura was here, she would be telling you all the things her district's unhappy about that have been built different from what we approved. And you brought that up earlier. So it's got to be in the record on what we're doing.
It should also, Bob should be here, or we should get some kind of notes on that. He's talked to these guys. These guys have been talking to him several times, assuming what they're saying is very true, and they're having to explain it again to us. So, we should have some sort of
We've
a
been
note on
busting
that.
our asses.
It goes back to the packet being complete or not complete, which was the conversation we had a few months back. The packet's there or it's not. This isn't. A lot of what you're saying makes sense, and obviously Bob knows what he's talking about. But the packet wasn't complete. It's hard to tell what is or
Okay,
isn't
Bob
different.
didn't ask us to reference the old plans
Mhm.
and I just.
We just happened to bring them
No,
with us.
I definitely understand the position you're in.
Right. And you've
It's the
got a-
position we're in as
Right.
well,
But
though.
We turned these plans into Bob
It's been,
that were like this
Mhm.
4 months ago.
Let's do this for tonight's meeting. We need to work internally with Bob because we shouldn't be at this place. This is the only municipality, and I work in about 15 municipalities. We would be thrown out of Alpharetta with this kind of conversation that, well, we talked to somebody and we don't have a complete package. We'd be thrown out of Forsyth, Peachtree Corners. You just can't do that anywhere else. And we need to sort that out with Bob's additional workload when he was always here and he led the conversation and led us, and it was on the record because he was sitting at a microphone. I think that was a whole different thing. But as Bob says, we're under siege with all these changes and things happening, and we just need to have a package that we can vote on, that's public record. This is on television right now, and we should not be approving things based on hearsay, even though I believe you.
But she's the representative that it's meeting that met with Bob about this. So it's not hearsay.
The problem, to Reed's point, though, in 3 years' time, if there's a question about it, the packet wasn't complete. It's cross-referencing going back is
So we were,
difficult.
Bob's opinion was this wasn't up for a vote. It was just simply old business.
Yeah, I don't even think
a
we're
review of
voting
old
on this.
business.
Well,
it-
that's because they've slipped it into old business, but when you change from no doors to doors, when you change, if it was just the brick color, I'd probably be going along with it.
I'll take the doors off.
No, we want you to have the
Quite
doors.
I've got, and Charlie, you know this because you're in the business, you've been in the business. We've got foundations being poured.
Mhm.
You know, we're running thousands of dollars a day in interest. And, you know, we've busted our cans to get the plans in line with what we were asked to do, and to have another delay is really difficult. I'm the construction side. You know, we've got crews lined up. We're pouring the foundation. I mean, the slab tomorrow. My
Rob, you know,
walls are in.
again, this isn't about that. It's
understand.
about these processes have to go through and do it right. And we've got the townhouse guys over there at Windward have had to go back 2 or 3 times and change things. They're coming back next month. They just sent you stuff. So on and on and on. If we expect everybody else to do that, this is some significant change. Looks like it's all good, but it can't work this way. And I'm going to be quiet. Let the board do whatever they want. And I'll talk to Bob tomorrow. This can't happen anymore.
Well, we'll go back to the
It
original.
it just can't be. We all met. You just told me a few minutes ago that if I meet with those developers to make sure you're there. So I just want equal treatment for everyone. That's all I want.
Well, we'll take building 3 back to exactly the way it was drawn. And so I can get a building permit issued. So we'll just move with that. Building 4 will come back on, but building 3 has been approved. I'll make sure we take the brick, we'll match the brick as approved, we'll match the windows as approved. We cannot continue to do this.
Well, that'll get you a building permit. And then
Yeah.
if you want to come through and change the doors, that's fine. But you guys can all,
Windows are cheaper.
I'm gonna vote no so I can be on record.
Sure.
So when I do talk to Bob and others, this just can't keep doing this where we come in and we don't know what we're voting on.
We'll bring 4 back next month, but 3, we're just going to make the plan look exactly like the picture. And it's already been approved. We can't,
Which is the picture that was up on the screen.
yes, sir. Yeah, I'll just, all I have to do is adjust brick colors and take a couple doors off.
All right, now,
Well,
we've made a point here, so let's move to a different approach. This board can approve anything they want to approve. So why don't you, and it's on film, it's been recorded, that when I asked you were there any changes, you said no, just the brick, which isn't true. Your mistake.
Yes.
So now let's try to get you what you want. Bob can watch the film.
Yep.
And so can the city council. And we can all talk about, are we going to have developers standing up here going, Bob approved this, Bob approved that? Or are we going to have it in the filings as we should have, which ties into Laura 3 months ago when she said, I'm tired of seeing things built that weren't per the plan. And Reed, you started down that road a few minutes ago. Earlier,
I'm sorry, what was that?
when you said there's things being built that are not per the plan. Right? Wrong?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with them.
I know, but the point is you're seeing things being built.
For this based off memory, I just didn't know if there's a way for a checks and balances. That's all I really, my point.
This is real simple because it's called blueprints. And you file what you want to build, not what you want to talk about in public hearings. And then this public knows what they're going to get. If there's a problem 3 years from now, you go back to the drawings and it's not Bob said or somebody said, it's you submitted in this package. If we had what's approved and right beside it what you'd like, this would have been over in a second.
And I didn't understand that's what we were doing tonight. So that was,
All right, now,
we weren't
I
prepared.
just got a
tonight,
question.
what I'd like to do is then move on. Now that the board has seen the rendering, put it back up, of building 3, the board can look at it and decide if you want to approve these changes because you now know all that's different.
Jump in. I prefer the espresso brick to the stucco center. So I would prefer they didn't go back.
Okay,
They kept the brick in the revision.
all right, how do you feel about the doors?
And I prefer the doors on the ground level to the windows.
So discussion is that everybody agree with Lee?
I don't have any issue with the new building as
Right.
opposed to the old building. Kind of like that old style vintage brick, but I understand if there's buildings that are all going to mesh together, if they don't change it, then I like the new building.
And part of what I'm after is to have discussion where you define what you're changing from what's in the public records for this building. This picture is in the record. And I would just like to, when we get to a motion, if you want to do this, that we define we're changing brick colors, we're changing doors, and we're changing the windows.
Yes,
We're making significant changes.
I'll withdraw my previous statement because I wasn't prepared tonight. And we have made some changes. We just made, I thought they were,
Done under the table with Bob.
yeah. But
This is a
I'll
public
revise.
hearing,
Yeah,
and this is going into the record
yes.
forever and ever.
I'll revise that we have made some window changes. We've changed from windows to doors. We've changed some of the brick colors. And we had to add an additional flight of stairs, all with keeping with the original intent of the building that was presented.
I just got one question. Why did you meet with Bob before? Why did you meet with Bob before to change anything? What triggered the change at all from that?
There were no architectural plans.
Mm-hmm,
When we started, we drew two buildings,
mm-hmm,
buildings 3, 4, and 5, and all of them were just
right.
pictures.
Mhm.
So when
They
you
got it-
start
they
going
got
through
it
the
zoned.
process-
So once you went back and you had a conversation with Bob about fleshing out the design,
Correct.
that's what triggered him saying, okay, make these few changes,
Yes,
y'all agreed. And then that's what churned out this set of
That's
plans.
correct.
Okay,
Right.
so out of those 3 or 4 and 5,
Mhm.
only, or 3 and 4, there have only been, let's say, 4 changes on 3 and maybe 4 changes on 4.
Essentially, this, yes.
And I
yes,
would
ma'am.
like
Okay.
to see us make a motion on 3
Okay,
and then go to 4.
that's fine. That'd be
Re-
awesome.
Resolve each one of these independently,
Okay,
Okay.
since they are different buildings.
great. I would really appreciate that.
Write the comment.
And we're on building 3 right now,
Yes, sir.
which is your urgency.
Yes,
That
sir.
you
Voting
need to get
3,
done.
and then we will vote on wedding 4 separate.
Say
Say it
that
one more
again.
time.
Old business is votable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we vote.
Mhm.
I would, yes, a motion would be very helpful.
So we've got some conversation over here. And so if you all understand the stairs, the doors, the windows, and the brick,
Mhm.
and you can define that in a motion
Mhm.
that you want to do that, then I'm open for an emotion.
I do have a quick question before that. Sorry, Jeff, did you have a question? How did you call that? Privacy shade on the stairs, just the material of that.
On the stairs,
Where it's
that's
sort of
the
like
back,
checkered box.
that's the back side of the stair that you're seeing. The
Oh, I
blacked
see. Well,
out
duh.
spots.
Mhm.
Yeah, the blacked out spaces are just the underside.
Okay, good.
I mean,
I thought that was look weird.
Yeah.
Like a plate.
if I were to look at these 2 images, the original and the one today, knowing the background, knowing the massing, knowing what it's like to be a pedestrian and a driver, I would choose the one you're submitting today. I think it's an improvement. There's a bigger issue which Charlie has addressed, and that is paramount. Is we got to get our packages right and get it and be buttoned up on these meetings. So
If I knew we were coming for a vote, I would have prepared the package to have old, new.
yeah.
And that, I assumed that I'd worked all of this out
Mhm.
and
Let me defend
Yeah.
you. Staff should have told you, you can't, and we've talked about this now for a year, because we have this happening all the time. Sketches, ideas, discussion, and Bob is in a whole new role, still doing the other one.
Sure.
And plus, just it's illegal to vote on things where we don't have drawings and we've just voting on Bob's hearsay. If we don't want to have any lawsuits from developers, we need to have the drawings and the files.
well, if we can,
Because it's a precedent that if we let you do this, I would want to be able to do the same thing and not prepare a complete package.
well, the original building 3 are part of record because they were submitted.
Let's
And-
stay on point. I just wanted to say,
Yes, sir.
this isn't your fault.
Right.
It's our fault for not having you prepare the right package And I've been on record 8 or 10 times because I have to go do this in every other municipality. You can't get by with a 30% package. And you can't stand up in another municipality and say, there's no changes but the brick color, when there are a lot of changes.
Yes, sir.
Now, there's a motion here, or discussion, and they're about to get to a motion on building 3.
And if you can take care of 3, I'll come back next month. with
Rob,
4
I'm
of the
trying to.
package.
I'm trying to.
Okay.
I want to get this point out there. We've done it. And like Jeff said, when you look at the before, now that we have it, we didn't have it.
Yes, sir.
I really worked hard this weekend to try to understand what you were doing, and I didn't have the original.
Right.
And it was the weekend, so I couldn't call staff and go, get into the archives and show me what got approved.
So here, that is a problem because I wasn't there when they were approved. I don't have an archive. I started myself having a new folder where I save now approved drawings so that future people can access what was approved in the past. So I literally date everything which was approved by you guys. I started that. That was not available to me, so I have to depend on what they give me.
What's the process? I mean, you're relatively new and this is part of the process and.
Right. So there was no any old, I mean, Bob used to have some old paper saved somewhere, but now we don't have that. It's been sent somewhere to scan, and I don't have a copy of anything in the
I
office.
assure you, if we had the city attorney sitting here,
Right.
he would be agreeing with me 100%.
Right,
And how we grow and improve is
Right.
by having these discussions.
right,
And I'm going to have it with Bob that he can't tell developers it's great and he approves it because developers exaggerate.
exactly.
And they're all over the map telling you anything you want to hear. I am one of them. I know. And they'll run all over the map, tell, oh, it's the same. It's beautiful. It's about the same. And then we don't know what we get built. So Rob, I would do what you're doing. So I want us to be more organized. She brings up a good point. We don't even have the old drawings. We're glad you do.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Now, we're about to get you where you want to get, because I agree the building's prettier, but I needed to see the old one to get to that conclusion. Who wants to struggle with this motion?
Could you make a motion to approve the building as the renderings appear on pages 10, 11, 12, and 13 of the pack? Does that make sense?
For building
Yep.
3.
And if we could get the 3 or 4 things that we're changing. The windows, doors,
We're
Brick.
approving the
Yeah,
windows, the
windows,
doors.
doors,
Staff.
brick color,
Mhm.
and an additional flight of stairs.
That's correct.
Seems like the rooftop are maybe a little bit different too, but I like it better, a lot better.
Yeah.
Could actually do some really cool lighting, something up there, but
Do we have to get into the specifics of what changed? If I'm blessing this like it's brand new, it is
File
what
it,
it
file
is.
it.
Exactly.
file
I
this
don't
in the
even have to
record.
get into
Yeah.
why you changed it. It is what it is.
You've got a picture of where
That's
Yeah.
correct.
would it would
it
be.
is, but I think when we're changing stuff under old business,
Yes, sir.
and we should define what we're changing, especially given that we don't have the old one of record.
And I
So-
can email that to you. We've got all of.
And for
I can help
me,
you.
the massing is the same,
Right.
which I think is an important part of your cuteness over there.
Right.
And we all agree about the doors are better. So there's our discussion.
Okay.
Did we get Sheba, we have the points in there about we're changing the windows per the
Yeah.
drawings, the doors, and the brick colors.
Brick color, yeah, I
Steel
got that.
awning.
straight.
All right, so we got a motion.
So we could do a motion to approve the changes to the stairs, doors, window, and brick colors on building 3 of the Market District buildings as appearing on pages 10, 11, 12, and 13 of the packet submitted.
I second.
was that a motion?
That's a pretty good motion.
I like that.
All right, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Let's discuss building 4. And let's see if we can get there for you,
Okay.
Rob.
That would be awesome.
We've learned how to do that. So can you put 4 up on the
Yes, sir.
screen? Original 4? And could we be precise on what all you've changed? And let's
Now,
see
I'm
if
going to
we're,
have to look at my plan so that I can verbalize.
So again, some stucco is disappearing, so I'm good with that.
1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4.
So if you,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
right, so I'm going to start with if you'll start with the south elevation, because the south elevation is the only elevation that was presented in the original DRB presentation, and that's what you're looking at on the overhead projector. So let me see if I can. In general, the biggest change was the changing of the building from 5 distinct facades to 4 distinct facades. And that had to do with square footage, leasable square footage sizes on the inside. And when we started working with the architect to build a building, the divisions on the inside did not work. The brick colors that are presented in your package that you have tonight are the same as the brick colors that were presented in the original presentation. We have made
it looks like the windows, especially on the top
the
floor,
floor.
have gotten a lot bigger.
They have. And what we ended up doing different on this building, on the new building versus that, is that we discovered in the first 2 buildings we built that the upper floor was a premium space, and having a much higher ceiling with a penthouse type. So the ceiling level on the upper floor is several feet taller than it was, but the building is still under the maximum height. And what that allowed us to do was to add some additional windows and light.
Okay?
The cornice work and the entablature, we tried to keep very similar. I would say we did every effort to actually design the entablature and cornice with real architectural design to match the renderings.
That structure on the roof on the left-hand side, is that for stairs or elevator or?
That's an elevator. It's an outside stair, but we don't have any roof. There's no rooftop. I think we've got an outside stair because we've got all of the HVAC. There's equipment on the roof.
So here's what I meant building. Originally, we were gonna have a food hall on the bottom. Which now is a good idea. Offices on the upper 2 floors. We ran into density issues, so what we decided to do was go for almost a completely entertainment type space, restaurants, dining, that kind of thing. So like I've got a sushi.
But it's not on the rooftop, it's on side
So when I
porches
say-
now.
When I say rooftop now, we were gonna make it it's a 2-story, but it's a 3-story building, but it really is only 2.5 stories. The upper floor now, Bob had us completely do the exterior as if it were a building all the way around. Because originally I was just gonna have like a floor on the top in the middle. And he said, I want it to look like this building. So we went ahead and completed the walls around the entire building. So on either end of that building, there's 1,200 square foot.
On the upper level.
On the 3rd floor. That's the reason. And then to have fire exit, 2 fire exits, we had to have an exterior stair to be able to get off. So.
I was waiting for you to get to the fire issues, why you got to have those exterior stairs.
But Bob also wanted us to have this big tower that originally he's like, hey, can we have like a crab apple or something?
A silo.
Yeah. We were wanting
Silo
to.
number 2.
Yeah. But the effort and anybody's been involved in real estate development knows that when you go from a rendering to actual architectural plans based on some market studies on who's going to be your tenant, we've worked really hard to meet the spirit of what we presented. But I will say that we have made slight changes in windows
Mhm.
and
All right, one
Doors.
last question on the original. You had doors on this end bay. Now there's no exterior door. Am I reading this that the far two are one building and this is going to be the entry to that building?
these two are one. That's one.
So there's no doors or access into this.
Yeah, the whole, there's 3 sets of doors across the front of it.
Right. These,
Yeah.
there's not a door
Yeah,
here because it,
correct.
yes, you're correct, Charlie.
That's where you're going to get your bigger
Yes,
space.
Right, you go in, yeah, you'll go in that middle to the, yeah, you go in that main door.
My point, you don't have a door, what you did have on the original, which we like doors.
Right.
So where did it go? You're saying this door gets into this bigger.
Yes.
So while it looks like 2 bays, it's really one building.
That's correct.
And
that is
that's your bigger square footage.
That's correct.
Okay. I'm good with that. I'm just one opinion.
I do like your old windows. I hate it. The restaurant, may not be there, and I can completely understand functionality. Man, I like those old windows, especially the one on the bottom left, the old building. Instead of just
The bigger open windows.
Yeah. But
I've got one requested change here.
Yes, sir.
I don't like this 1920 roof. I like this roof, and I don't like it twice with an awning on this one.
Where? Oh,
Yeah,
This is a very strong character with that little roof with the iron
yeah.
bars that hold it
I
up.
don't see that.
And then all of a sudden, we got an awning on the other one, which doesn't make that look so great, I don't think.
We can change, I mean, that's very,
What do you think as the owner developer?
well, the awnings are much more cost effective. So,
After all the gives tonight, I'd just go for a better roof.
yeah. Yeah, an awning is,
I'd like you to get rid of that, and I'm only one vote.
yeah,
I'd like you to get rid of that awning and stay consistent
Oh.
on this building
Put the-
floor with these same roofs over here.
Yeah. Put the steel one down here. And you know what, and here's, Charlie, I think something that would make Bob thrilled is on the unit that you changed the awning is maybe actually put a couple awnings. Make this one look a little bit different. Put fabric awnings over the windows on either side. Soften it.
I'd stay, this is a period, this building has got a period of architecture going on. And to stick on some awnings, these are very strong statements across there. And I just put another one
Okay.
above that awning and call it a day.
We can do that. So we can change the fabric awning to the third section on the right to match the steel awnings on
So
the other
somebody
two.
help me remember that. And so I really like your other building because it said we're going to have a bunch of awnings.
Yeah.
Making the 2 buildings distinctively different.
Right.
I
Which
agree
would have
with that.
happened in this period.
Right.
Okay?
I agree.
I don't want to make this too complicated, but I don't mind the bigger facades. I love the older architecture. Was there a reason why you could change almost completely kind of besides the size of the fronts, the architecture of the fronts? Does that
Well,
make sense? I know you said,
That was originally the original building was really only 2.5. It was a different intent and design. It had like
may have
Brent said, it
already
had a mezzanine and it was a shorter building because it was only 2.5 floors. Well, the new building is taller. So the reason it's, if we kept the same windows, they would look really
Squatty.
squatty
I see.
because we were way under height on total
You're
height.
asking for all that height in the top floor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Changed everything.
And it just stretched everything up.
Did Tracy draw this?
Yes.
Okay, so he'll be hardening this up. He's great at what he does.
Yeah.
If you change that roof, I understand why you added the height. What other questions? Reed, were you headed somewhere that you want? What do you want from the other rendering?
I'm not.
And
I
it
wish
went
Tim
away-
Bryan
can we-
was up here. Somebody, I mean, I'm not very good at telling you guys exactly what looks good. I just know what I think looks good. So If it blends well,
It can't, well, you can't, it's the bottom floor.
Can you put that rendering back up on the screen? The rendering that,
and if it doesn't, you know, I
Was
don't want it to necessarily impact
Just
what was
leave it there.
approved?
the
He'll
leasability.
change it. Just put something in there. He'll change it.
It's showing up on my screen, but Charlie, what Reed's asking is, on these bottom floors, instead of having the matching kind of windows, could we do a big, you know, an 8x8, larger,
Yeah, I think that, I missed that. That's a great point, Reed.
Yeah.
Instead of all these little 3.0 windows.
yeah,
No.
Some of those big, and with
No,
retail.
we want vertical elements, not square windows.
What
We
Bob said that.
No, that's in the design elements that we follow. We avoid square windows. We always get like rectangular, more vertical elements.
Then why did it get approved? I mean, the
I don't
building
know.
that.
I
Reed-
don't know. I wasn't there when back that happened.
But here's the point. If Reed likes it, it's already approved.
yeah.
And I think it breaks up the windows from the other building. And it may be what,
I'm not sure it would, the bottom left are the ones you really like, aren't they? On the original document. And I like them, but
May clash.
this building reminds me of one from where I used to live. It's consistent across. So Charlie made the point about the steel awnings. If you put the window on the bottom left and try and switch it out, I don't know it would hang together.
It may clash.
Yeah, and I like that look, but I don't know it will suit the building as it's been changed.
It'll work.
here's what is important in this architecture. This is really one building. He's
That's
made
correct.
look like two. And it's got a main entry that's now going to be more powerful if you
Yep.
put the roof across like the others. If we wanted to do something that made these, and you brought this up, I'm just agreeing with you, that instead of all these narrow windows along here, these could be some bigger picture windows like the original with the muttons up high.
Oh, you look good.
They look great. They look different. And it's already approved anyway.
Yeah.
And it'll help his retail. Retailers hate these little narrow windows.
We could add those sizing with a big window with a transom above it, just like it was drawn. I think we could do it. Was it leave the middle one so it seems prominent, maybe a little bit different, but that would be my.
Okay, show it to everybody else because they got to.
Yeah, I agree.
So we do the outside too, scribble
Right.
line, outside too, with big windows with transoms like that, but leave the center portion as is. So we leave the center portion, but on the outside two windows, we would match. We would put windows like the big windows you see with the transom. So we just
Yeah.
change these four
Yeah.
windows and use the big windows with the transoms.
Yeah.
We decide, Tracy knows the size, the sizing of them.
So in this period of architecture, the ego was in the store owner that built one of these buildings. And he lived above and he's had his store on the first floor, i.e. Savannah, Charleston, on and on and on. And that looks better to me in what you had before. This building, the earlier buildings look more authentic than this one does. Reed's come up with an idea to make it look a little different, like each owner built his building. You never saw these owned by the same person. Different people built these buildings.
And that's the
Lived
intent.
above. And if you get, I dislike all of these little 3.0 windows everywhere. It's like when you see this built, you'll drive by it and be unhappy because there's too many 3.0 windows stacked 3 floors tall. Reed's idea, and of course, the period was that big picture window for the retailer. Walk up and down Broughton Street in Savannah, and you're going to see that big window with some muttons above.
Right.
Just like your picture, which Tracy drew also. And I think you doing that helps break up this first floor. It
I agree.
also screams retail
I agree.
on the ground.
Yeah. I would think on the outer two units, we put the middle one, we could do the middle one as well.
So what I'm going to ask you, my motion would be,
Okay,
since we got those foundations fixed,
yeah,
so you're building, is I'm going to make a motion that we table this till next month under old business and ask you to get it redrawn with all these thoughts we've had and come back before us so we can't approve something with your sketches that aren't in the public record.
right. I agree. And I'm very happy with that.
Okay, and then you take all our thoughts and ideas and change it around a little bit. And I'd like everybody else's discussion, if you have any ideas from the old to this building, what you would like to see.
Quick question. You have a patio on the east elevation. It looks like two patios. It looked like pretty substantial. They were added on, if you look at the south elevation on the right-hand side, but it's on the east elevation. And is that,
When we get to the
it
east,
looks like it's more than a design element. I mean, tell us about that. Dining.
Yeah,
Outdoor dining. Okay.
that's correct. Yeah.
Outdoor space is premium now and everybody wants it, so.
Okay, so that's the use. I
The
got
east
it.
and the west on the third level are open dining spaces. Because the same thing on the west side,
We want you to have all the outdoor patios you want.
yeah,
Because it's what everybody wants to do.
yeah. In Bob's direction, in which I'm really happy with, originally the building, after we started working on it, it didn't have the walls around the ends of both ends of the third floor. And Bob had us build basically curtain walls around, even though behind it is outdoor dining. But it looks, I think it looks fabulous.
I agree.
Excellent.
The only recommendation I would make for y'all to help y'all
Yeah.
get out of the spiral is just going forward, instead of generating a new set, take this cloud, put a red cloud around the
Okay.
things that have changed, or put a scope narrative with
Okay.
everything that's changed.
Sure.
That way it prevents your designers from having to redo another set of these. Keep
Yes.
what you got, just cloud the changes that you made. It holds the designer accountable and it holds all of us accountable too on who said what kind of thing. So that when we come back next month, because I
Yeah.
may not be here, he may not be here, these two guys may not be here, and you're gonna be stuck here doing the same thing. So just put a cloud, but
Sure.
keep the same set.
Okay.
So it's nothing that is brand new. It's
Right.
okay, I remember, and here's the change that we made, and just cloud it.
You got it.
It's clouds are
And
cheap.
stick the original rendering in here too.
Yeah.
I will.
Mhm.
Since
We
we
were
don't have.
prepared, and I apologize. But Reed, I've heard everybody's comments. I think they're actually positive. Make the building better, which is what everybody here is working toward. So we will take those comments and adjust and be back next month.
All right, did we we didn't vote yet on
Not
the
yet.
motion to postpone, did we?
No,
We
not
did
yet.
vote
You
to
haven't
table.
voted.
All right, somebody want to make that motion? Or you want me to make it?
You make it.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion on the Market District at Crabapple, Building 4, that it be tabled for this month. You come back next month in old business with drawings that depict the things we've discussed tonight so that we can vote on the actual, what you're going to get approved and what you want. Okay, so we'll see you next month. Oh, what? That's the motion, sorry.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you working through that.
Thanks, guys. God bless. We'll see you next month.
All right.
5B.
On, I would like to return for a minute to new business because we skipped through that quickly and Reed had some new business earlier.
Well, we have somebody here, I think, correct? 5B?
Well, we moved
Yeah.
them to the last thing
Oh,
of the
they're the
meeting.
very
Yeah,
last.
6B, yeah.
So let's take care of old business before we do the last thing.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing,
I'm sorry, new
New
business.
business.
is this appropriate?
Yes, new
About the
business.
townhouses?
Yes.
I mean, I pass by these things, and sometimes I'm trying to do this from memory, and so there may be a good way to look these things up on record. Maybe there's not. I just wanted to have that accessible to us. I did call Bob. I left him a voicemail. I hope was the right voicemail for him. About what I saw down there, but I remember it was a huge point that we
Could you
made.
define which one? I know,
Yeah,
but
you know, the buildings that sort of, the first ones that they're building along the roundabout, Charlotte connector, or whatever they call it now, that face the street.
know what
They're
you're
on the
talking
street.
about.
We made a big deal about those being brick, really nice. I mean, we went back and forth on the facades, and they look just like any other ones that are being built with siding, because that was sort of the staple, the gateway heading into the city. And I just noticed it the other day, and I thought, that's interesting. But I don't know where to look that stuff up. I need to just come down and look it up.
So I have that approved approved design. I found it from last year whenever the lakeside was approved, and I had put it in the file that's like approved design. And whenever a new building came in for building permit, I looked at it. It was exactly as per a DRB approved, and then we moved it. So I do look at the DRB
I'm
approved
sure you
design.
do. I just want to again, we could have approved it, and they could be building the exact right
Right.
thing. Just not how I remembered it. So I didn't know if there was a way to
Here's
just
what
kind
I
of pull
think's
it up and say, oh, yeah, that's right.
Well,
And then,
shouldn't it have gotten caught when the building inspector did his final sign off, when he's got the set of plans
again, they
there?
may be right. So I'm not saying they're wrong. I just wanted an easy way to be able to say, yeah, that's right.
here's what we all need to do. You brought up a concern as a board member, and I've seen some of those too. And the way this should work is you, under new business, have made a request that you think perhaps that's wrong. Next month,
Okay.
then it moves to old business, and we have that on the agenda where you show the board
Okay.
what Laura or Reed has brought up that they
Okay.
don't think is being built accurately.
You can prove
Okay.
me wrong.
I'll bring what is approved and what is permitted so that you can check.
Yeah, and it's not be wrong. It's all of us are in the community watching what's being done. And again, developers, you got to watch them
There's a lot
because
to
they'll
keep
make a
track of.
change, especially the last year when the
Just be a
brick
mistake.
guy says, we don't have that brick anymore. How about a purple brick? Oh yeah, I want to get done. I'll take the purple brick. And we see a lot of that going on everywhere. And I'm guilty of that in a job in Savannah. I made some changes because I couldn't get it. And then the city held me accountable. And I had to go back through planning commission to get it changed to what I could get. And I sounded like him. Yeah, here's my problem. And you guys said but it wasn't approved. And the city made me come back. So you've brought up something. The way this ought to work is staff ought to find those archives, come back before us. And if there's a problem, then we all know it. Rather than you go make calls or you have to worry about it, it should come back before the whole board and we should look at it. So that's just would be a good way we all worked.
I've got another new business. Is that new business?
You can have all the new business you want. Go ahead.
I mean, this is the design review board, right? And I mean, I don't want to add to Bob's plate, but at some level, should we not have Bob here? Or should we at least have some sort of notes from Bob? Or I guess you are just his representative totally. But since we are making decisions on design of the way that our city looks, this may be something to suggest. Bob may hate me for suggesting it, have him here, but somebody that has a degree in architecture that works for the city.
I guess it goes back to the packet not being complete. If notes are included,
From the city?
See, that's where I get hung up. We cannot make architectural decisions when we start hearing a guy waving his hands and talking fast and telling us Bob approved it. Because we don't know that, and we're making decisions here that are holding people accountable. And so we need a set of drawings, and that's what he submitted, and we can vote on that drawing, whether Bob approved it or not. Bob has said in this meeting numerous times, I don't have a vote. I just recommend we have the vote, and Bob's been clear about that.
Well, but it's been nice to bounce things off Bob. He'd say, oh yeah, that was a good idea. Reed, that idea really stunk because of this. It's
But
kinda
he's
nice.
got all he can do, believe me.
So even just some notes
but
would
it
be
goes
good.
back to the it all keeps coming back to if the packet was
That's
complete,
correct.
if we had the before and after, it
That's
may not
correct.
have.
Then
been
we
an
make our
issue.
own decisions.
If Bob wants to send an email with some notes, I like
correct.
this because that's fine, surely. I don't think he needs to sit at every meeting, but the packets have to be complete.
That's correct.
Otherwise, we can't do what we're supposed to.
Right, but as
Well-
soon as it came and the packet wasn't complete, the whole conversation to me was null and void. Once you don't have it all here to look at it, it's really nothing to talk about at that point. It was, that that item could have been done for a while, and I'm sorry, but you're going to have to call a concrete truck, stop the plant, cut your loss, wait the next month till you can bring it all in here together. I'm not sure what his expectations were. They were clearly wrong. But yeah, this back and forth, I wouldn't have even
It goes to
gone
the-
that
it
far.
goes to the procedure though, that they had been misdirected.
That's correct.
I
Not
bet you,
intentionally,
Our
but
expectations were,
Yeah.
they had a different expectation than
where
what we.
if it's clear
had.
that if you're bringing something, it needs to be complete. If it's not complete,
That's
it's
correct.
not
It
going to
gets
get a
moved.
vote or.
and I bet you, knowing Bob, he told them to
Yes,
go
he-
draw that up and bring it to us. Bob never said, go tell him I said. That is not my Bob. Mr. Detail said, okay, I like it, do this, but he never said, before them without having a drawing.
Mhm.
That's just not what Bob does. So they didn't do the drawing, which has been this guy's history. Great guy, building great buildings. We love him, but he's seat of the pants all the time. And the drawings are not well done or well thought out. If Bob loved it, I would tell him, if Bob loves what you're doing, and you guys work it out, draw it up, show it to Bob, and then submit it. There's no drawings here. I'm telling you, legally, we have nothing to hold the builder accountable for if he goes out and builds an outhouse because we approved his sketches and his fast waving hands.
Right.
And that's what I want to see fixed. And I've seen it for 3 years. When Bob controlled everything and was in the meeting, that worked. But he can't do all his new job and role and still do that too and come to these meetings. And if we don't enforce what we want to see, we're duly appointed and we have the vote. Bob doesn't. He's the advisor. And the council would expect us to know what we're getting and not to approve something without a drawing. I know if the whole council was sitting there, they would be telling us, you need to approve things that are in writing and drawn. And I'm very appreciative of all that Paul Moore did for 15 years on Planning Commission. And if Paul was sitting here, he would agree it has to be in writing.
Mhm.
And that's our bosses who appointed us. And if we accept less, I don't think we're doing our job. And it's a simple drawing, and he's real creative, and I think he's great. His buildings are great. He just has to go get his architect to draw it up.
And that was why I gave him the recommendation. All right, you don't have to go, just use what you have, but modify it and make the changes so I can trace
The
back
progression
to.
is clear.
Exactly. I can see, oh, okay, this is what we had last month, and this is what is new this month. It's real simple. It's not rocket science. You don't have to spend a lot of money and time, but you do got to sit there and work. Don't just say you made it from 4 to 5 or 5 to 4 when there's other stuff that happened. Write a scope narrative of what all changed. We do that all the time to keep things moving.
So, and that's how we need to be as a board, and then we can all make good decisions. So now, if we're done with this new business,
I'm done.
and next month you'll present to us
sure?
in old business and see if there is an issue with those buildings.
Okay.
I noticed
So-
it. I'm
so
glad Reed brought
I'm
it up.
understanding that you would like to, I mean, since I got comments last time that you would like to have a complete package, I have tried to, whenever the new design comes up, I try to give them list of things that they must have in their package. But this was coming as old business, so Bob told me put them on old business, so I did. Okay. Now, do you really want this kind of things to come as old business, or do you want them to come as a final reviews again?
I don't think it's old business, honestly. When you're changing a building significantly, and he started off with, oh, there's no change, just the brick. it needs to be seen and reviewed again by DRB.
As a
And like
final
you say, I
review.
may not be on here in 3 months or 6 months, but that's just the way this board should function. It should not come back. I mean, if he was just changing the brick, old business is probably fine, but he's doing a lot more than that. And he's got 2 buildings, so there's a whole lot of change going on here on one of our most critical streets that the taxpayers in Milton and the homeowners are going to be looking at and going, this is ugly or pretty or, you know, and like you say, we want those doors. He played poker with us and said, fine, I'll skip the doors. So I had to fold right there because we want him to do the doors. So we had to get those doors approved because we don't want him to go out there and build those buildings without the doors.
But I didn't want him to hedge out of pressure. Let's talk about it and reason why. Don't just, well, just fine, I'll just do. No, that's not a conversation.
Again, if the packet's complete, all of that's moved.
Right.
It's all very straightforward. Then whether Charlie's here or not, you can see what it was, what it is.
And you all can look at it for 3 or 4 days before you come and decide what you might. These are so complicated, many of them. You got to look at it, think about it, look at it again. And when we get here for an hour, you know, we spend 15 minutes a case. That's asking too much to make those decisions in 15 minutes when the developer says, I didn't give you any drawings, but here their hands wave and they talk fast. And, you know, that's not how we should be making these level of decisions.
This bothers
Now-
you, huh? This bothers you.
Well, I can't define that and I can't put it in the record. And if one of my bosses, the council, looks at this meeting tonight and he goes, Charlie, what does all that mean? And what color is that? And where were the doors? And I go, I don't know.
It's whatever it turns out there.
Right,
That's it.
right. When you order it, comes off
It's
the truck.
design by default. It's whatever he ends up building.
Mhm.
So now let's get back to, we moved one item, 6B, to the end of the meeting. And let's look at item 6B, 12745 New Providence Road, Milton, Georgia.
Hi, good evening. My name's David Fortenberry. I'm the new property owner at 12745 New Providence Road. There's no house there, so I don't live there. I want to apologize for being late. I'm so sorry. I incorrectly assumed that I could get on Zoom. That obviously didn't work. So I bolted over here as quickly as I could. And I want to thank the board for your flexibility and moving me towards the liberty. to do
And you
so.
can thank Rob for giving you a lot of time.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So this is the first time for me. So, you know, if I need to answer your questions, I'm happy to do so. We are requesting a variance for the setback. It's a flag lot, as you may be able to tell in some of the drawings. So in essence, it kind of situates the way the houses are, or the way the houses are being built on the side of the property, not so much fronting New Providence Road. The neighborhood consists of 3 homes only, and myself, Fred Milani, and Stella and Ron, who's in the first house, and Stella Dowling and Ron Camp, and they've also given their approval. I have a letter from them as well. I don't know if I need to show that or.
I think submit it into the record.
Okay.
And we should have that in our file.
Okay.
Copy or,
She's got it.
great, great. The other 2 lots have requested a variance of the setback from 60 to 25, and both of those have been approved. So this is basically just being more consistent with the neighborhood. You know, we really want to make this, it's a very small neighborhood, it's just 3 homes, and we want to make this a beautiful place to live and be with our neighbors.
Okay. Is there any opposition to this?
No.
Okay.
So I think there are the 2 more neighbors, they also got a variance to move the front setback forward. It's, there is a less buildable area for this particular lot. So
Yes.
it looks like they wouldn't really need it. There is a lot of buffer behind the house and
That's right.
the
There is a stream.
topography really slopes down drastically. I went over there and took some pictures yesterday, so I've seen it, so.
Okay. Board, you have discussion, questions?
It doesn't look like you encroach to 60 feet all the way to 25.
Not quite, but honestly, the more I can get up to 25, the better. The lot drops off pretty significantly about halfway through the depth of the house. It starts to drop off pretty good. And this is when we're going to have to put in a lot of retaining walls if we have to push the house further back, which is going to be super, super expensive for us. And honestly, when we first got the plats for this lot, it showed a 25-foot setback. And actually, the records show both 25 and 60. There are two entries into the deed books. And we got, when we bought the lot, it said 25 feet. But then we're shown another one that said, no, this is 60 feet. I'm like, which one is the
Yeah, it
correct
can get
one?
confusing on that.
It's very confusing. It's very confusing. I was told by the builder that, in fact, it is 60. It's technically the front setback, even though it's kind of on the side with the other house.
Is the letter, if you'd look at it
Mhm.
and confirm the adjacent property owner's okay with this?
Yeah.
The adjacent property owner.
Yes.
Okay, that's
So
important to
they
me.
don't really have address here, but there is no address here, but we will look into it. If this needs to be modified before BZA, we will do it.
I'd make sure you had that before BZA, that they clearly know the adjacent's okay.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, would you like to send to the BZA board? What do you want to say? You good with this?
Well, I would like to see maybe the copies of the conflicting documents, that one that shows the 25 and one that shows the 60,
Sure.
so that they can see that, yeah, there is.
Yeah,
a-
that actually was included in their packet.
It was, okay.
Yeah, in the, I had to write a letter, like an introductory letter, and I stated the deed book, the actual page number for
Right.
both plats.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's in there. Thank you.
It's just a mistake. There are both, it's shown both ways. The plat is showing 60 feet setbacks, but there is another sewage, I think it's some other sewage map or something where the house is shown like 25 feet from the property line. So it's probably a mistake, but
All right, so you're going to have that for BZA.
I
so
will.
that there's no maybe that
I would definitely have that. I have copies of them.
in the letter and define that it's definitely the next door neighbor.
Yes.
That'll be important to them.
I will definitely do that. And you would
Okay.
recommend just putting their address on the letter or?
yeah, just have their address on the bottom here. Would be
Okay,
fine.
yeah, that's an easy do.
Okay. Board, any other discussion, any other message?
Oh, that's it.
All right, so I think we would support this. We think those items we've mentioned help you get their support. We don't have a vote, we just have a recommendation, and we'd recommend that they work with you and get this approved.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you all for your flexibility
Thank
and
you.
have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for coming. If there's no new business, old business, or any other discussion, we'll adjourn.
Second.
I know, do this.
There you go.